Okay, everyone. A lot of you have been asking me lately about a certain game called D&D, otherwise known as Dungeons and Dragons, made in 1974 by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson, who were the founders and co-owners of Tactical Strategy Rules, other known as TSR. Now, back then, D&D was not the only game that they created. The very first origin game of D&D was known as none other than Chainmail. Now, with that being stated, Chainmail was the basis for D&D. Uh, Due to the fact that the person or persons would end up having a bunch of dice known as polyhedral dice. You have 7 in all. And when I say D and the number, it means for that particular sided dice, which is D4, D6, D8, D10, percentage D10, D12, and D20. Now, I actually have a few of those dice with me. Which I always keep on handy. Right here. This is your D4, D6, D8, your D10, and your percentage D10, your D12, and your D20. Now, the game of D&D has been in a mainstream of things, bringing up the modern role-playing stuff, not only just role-playing, but role-playing video game genres, video games, multimedia online role-playing games such as DDO, otherwise known as Dungeons and Dragons Online. But it also has been the basis of a lot of movies. There has been, so far, 4 movies of Dungeons and Dragons. There's Dungeons and Dragons that came out in 2000, Dungeons and Dragons: Wrath of the Dragon God, Dungeons and Dragons: The Book of Vile Darkness, and recently, which I got to see, Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Amongst Thieves. Now, a lot of people literally states, don't watch the second one and don't watch the third one. Here's the thing, if you want to understand about the game, that's a good start. But if you really want to go older, I mean so old, I mean older than me, because I was actually in from 87, which shows my age. Watch 1983 to 1985 Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. Due to the fact that it is like 1980s cartoon animation, one of the original Cartoon Network cartoons. That's actually old. That's really good. If you really want to know how the game is and really want to get started, watch that. If you really want to actually get started on playing the game, I highly advise using the editions of the time to start playing. If you really want to actually get into it, I can actually put in the links in description down below for a website, and not only the website, but also deep into the website. I'll actually go further into the website so I can actually give you the actual D&D books, so where you don't have to deal with all that stuff. Looking for it yourself, I'll actually help you guys out. I'll actually also be able to send you a link of the YouTube description of the YouTube video of the very first episode of Dungeons and Dragons cartoon, and I'm not doing any endorsement, or I don't want any payment or anything like that. So if I give you guys the descriptions, it's not for me. It's actually talking about how fun the game is. There's also times that you can actually go if you are in the Nashville, Tennessee area or Williamson County area or Rutherford County area of Middle Tennessee. There is a place called the Tennessee Renaissance Festival that's coming up this year. I'm gonna see how far I can be able to take some video of that and put it on my channel because I enjoy it. It brings out the character I play, which is Draco Kovic. Um, but we won't get into that due to the fact that it's only when I go into character will I actually show what he can do, what he's able to do, what his strengths, weaknesses, things like that. But other than that, which I actually have a player's handbook from second edition, which the cartoon is actually made from. Let me reach for that real quickly. And no, I don't have a box of holding. I wish. Here is my copy of the Player's Handbook from second edition Dungeons and Dragons. I also have other books as well, but the thing is that I don't have the complete set of second edition, but yet I can actually look online, but I rather have the book as well. But then also, I believe it's sometime in a later part of the year in Ohio, there's the Ohio Ren Fair as well. But yeah, if you really want to get into D&D, actually learn how to play, I advise you, I can't stress it enough, please watch the episodes of Dungeons and Dragons cartoon, and I prefer to learn this. To learn it from the edition that I learned. But if you're actually new to the game, I don't have the books with me, but due to the fact that over the years, over the decades, Dungeons and Dragons has been literally simplified to the point where people who have never played before can actually understand it better. I believe it's actually making things a little bit more complicated because there's certain skills that you don't have anymore, and there's certain things you don't have in the 5th edition that you do in second, well, from original D&D, AD&D, second, 3.5, and 4th edition, which 4th edition, that's when everything started just being simplified. The only thing that's different that from the 2nd edition and the 1st edition and the original is that where they end up taking hit points or causing damage to hit points, which used to be known as THAC0, to hit armor class 0, which is THAC 0, to hit armor class 0. And truth be told, the game itself is very fun, very interesting. If it wasn't for that game, I wouldn't have been able to enjoy what I do. I actually learn a lot from playing the game, and I enjoy it. But also, if I can get the video from the Tennessee Ren Fair, I'll actually put that as an updated video as the time goes on. Also, I will also put in a video of me actually not only playing the game, but also being the dungeon master, which is the DM. The DM is the one who makes the game, who calls basically says, oh, if you end up you end up being in the woods, you're 2 days out from the small town. and you hear a crash in the woods. What do? The players have to either A, roll perception, or not worry about it at all. But if they roll perception, they actually use a d20, which perception could be a +1, +2. I rather prefer, if you do a character with positive modifiers, because the negative modifiers might actually end up making things worse. But right now, just putting the 20-sided die down, I rolled a 17. So that means that even if I was a player and I was able to hear the sound, not only know where the sound came from, but I may be able to hear what it was. Not exactly. Um, but yeah, please, bear with me. But there's also, and I know I'm just rambling, but with the dungeon master, he calls the shots. He basically makes the storyline. There's also monsters that you can go after, for for the players to go after as well. But this is just to talk about the game, but not show how it's played yet. I will eventually do that video, and when I do, I will actually be the dungeon master and the player as well. So, see you guys then.